Okay, this is my new skull mount kit from Walnut Hollow Country. I picked this thing up on Amazon. I got my buck from last year that I took on Veterans Day. I got him Euro mounted. Looks really good. I wanted something to display him on. I went with this kit first and foremost because you can either do a tabletop style mount as pictured on the box, or you can do a wall mount with the skull. So kind of gives you options in that regard. It's also made in America, which is cool for me because I'm American. It's Dodgeville, Wisconsin is the location of the company. And it's got a nice little finish and stuff to it. It's nothing fancy. It's kind of plain. But it was just like around like 25 bucks. There's the back of the box. So to have the ability to either mount on a table or mount on a wall, $25. I mean, unless you're good with woodworking and you can make your own, not a bad deal. So let's go ahead and open this up. See what we get. Okay. We got instructions. Looks like they're going to want to use a cordless drill. I'll have to go grab one of those. A little bit of bubble wrap for packing. Pop that to the side. That's it. There's our kit. Set that right there. Looks very simple. The wood. Yeah, I would agree with their advertising. It's like a satin finish. It's lightly sanded. Again, this isn't any fancy arrowhead mount or something you might find like more your taxidermist or whatever, but this is kind of just a simple plain hook it up and go. And then as far as hardware goes, we have, let's see, that's for hanging on the wall. I'm not going to use that. I'm going with the tabletop style mount for now. 4 screws there, and one other additional screw. Kind of looks more like a drywall screw. That. So when you look at the instructions, they're going to tell you, number 1, use provided templates A and B to pre-drill pilot holes in the brace. Top face hole should be drilled at a 90-degree angle. Test fit the skull. Okay, so basically what they're telling you is you have to actually drill a hole in the back of the skull, which is going to get mounted to this piece right here, and then that and that mount to that, and it'll end up something like that. Okay, so they want us to do a little bit of a pre-drill. It's not a very big thread, so pretty small bit, and they got some templates here that you have to cut out. Get your scissor skills going. Never was good at crafts. Okay, there's one template. Detach that from that. Okay. And then they give you an example that this upper edge, lower edge goes on this face. Like so. So that these 2 holes here will line up. And then template A goes on the bottom. And it pretty much just matches these 2 holes here. So all they're doing is giving you the correct spacing to match up. So let me go ahead and get a bit in my drill here. bottom first. Get it nice and center. Center of the X. Okay, there's our two holes. Should mate up with those, and it does look like they do. Okay, so that's template A, which is the bottom or the base. And we're going to do the top template. Pay attention, lower edge, upper edge, and it specifies that on the paper. You can see the angle coming down. Lower edge is the bottom of the angle, upper edge is the top. Okay, so we'll just get those lined up. I'm going to go with the slightly, paper's a little longer than the thing, so I'm going to line the lower edge up with the bottom and go with a slightly higher offset. Seems like a good idea. Okay, that's one. Two. Okay. Here's our two pilot holes for the top. Okay, so that's going to go boom, boom. That's going to go boom, boom. So all we need to do now is pre-fit the skull and pre-drill the skull. So the instructions say test fit the skull on the top panel, which should fit between the teeth. Adjust so the top pre-drilled hole is over the thick bone at the base of the skull. Pre-drill a hole in skull. So when they're saying thick bone, they're talking about that bone right there. But I got these back molars. I have the edge of this board right on those back molars, and if I can look through, I can see that hole pretty much lines up with where my screw is going to go. Okay, so we're going to gently and there is our hole in the thick bone resting, that board resting between those molars, which once it's secured it should sit rather nice. So we will find out. Okay. Next they want you to attach the round base to the brace. They call this the brace, using the 1 5/8" screws. As you can see, this 2-inch screw is to go through to the skull. It's longer than these, so these are the 1 5/8". That's the 2-inch. And because when I was lining it up, you can see there's a gap between this wood part and the skull. All right, so, and then they got these countersunk on the back side, and they got their little badge with their website, which is walnuthollowcountry.com. If you're interested in checking that out. I think I'm going to do this by, I'm going to get these started by hand instead of using a drill because it's kind of tight. I'll place my finger over the top and I can just feel the tip of that screw come through and then back it off a little bit. If you use a drill and you weren't lined up right, you're going to go crooked, and that would be a bad thing. So get them started. Again, feel for that tip, back it off just a little bit. Over there for a second. Okay. Alright, so the screws are in on the bottom. I can just feel the tips, and then I got my pilot hole started for this. So what I'm going to do is I want my screws to stick through about no more than 1/8 of an inch. And that's going to be just a sharp tip, and that's going to help me make sure that I'm lined up in my two holes right here, like that. Okay, so I got the base and the brace started. So now I can kind of, you just hold it with this hand. I would avoid using a drill for this because you might have a tendency to over torque and split. Okay. Alright. Yeah, I definitely recommend using a screwdriver and not a drill for that operation. I feel like if you had too powerful of a drill going, you might crack it, which you don't want to do. Give it a good snug down, and there's our base and brace set, good to go. Okay, so next on the instructions, they want you to attach the panel to the brace, and the countersink's going to go, the countersink for the attachment for the panel to the brace goes up. The countersink for the attachment to the skull is on the bottom side, but they want this attached first. So same deal. I would use a screwdriver to get these started so that you know you're going in straight. Have your screw stick out just a little bit so that you can find the pilot holes that were pre-drilled, like that. Okay. There goes screw number 2, and that template worked pretty good as well. Everything lined up. When you're doing something like this, when you got 2 screws, don't run the first one down all the way and then the second one. Kind of alternate between the two. That way you're not putting extra stress on one hole versus the other. You're kind of keeping all the pressures of the screws going down even. Countersink. Run them down until they feel like they're stopping, and then check your gaps. Looks like it could use a little bit more torque, but don't go crazy. Hold everything nice and snug and give it a final tightening on both screws. Okay, there's that part of it. And then lastly, obviously, they want you to do this to the skull with the 2-inch screw. So we'll turn our skull over. You're going to have to find that pilot hole that you drilled into the skull. And like I said, there was a gap, so I'm going to run this screw out maybe 1/4 of an inch, because there's some space between this board and where the hole's drilled in the back of the skull. So about 1/4 inch. You just have to kind of eyeball it. You might feel like you need a third hand, but you don't. You're good. You just gotta. Okay. Found the hole. Before you tighten this down all the way, make sure that your platform is, or your skull panel, sorry, not platform, is lined up on the teeth like you wanted. That looks good. Okay, we're into the skull, and just snug it up. No need to over torque, just to the point where it stops, because you're running the screw through the bone there, so you don't want to. And that's it. Looks pretty good to me. I like it. It's nice. It's clean. It's simple. It wasn't very expensive. I can always turn around and take this apart and change it to the orientation where it's hung on the wall. It gives a nice standoff. You know, you could have the rack in the corner of your desk. You could have it on a coffee table in your game room. You could put it anywhere. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you liked it. If you did, please check out all our other videos and subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate more subscribers, so if you could click that little red button and stick around with us. We're going to have more videos coming up as time goes on. And we appreciate it, and thank you very much, and take care.